Bugsy never lost sight of why he had come to L.A. He organized a national horse racing wire service. Following the lead of Chicago's IATSE scheme, he engineered a takeover of the Hollywood Extras Union and extorted millions from the studios. And with Johnny Rosselli serving as ambassador, he formed an unequal alliance with Jack Dragna and the L.A. mob.
That was never an easy relationship, partly because Dragna's ultimately a very parochial sort of figure, and Bugsy's coming in and talking about what the priorities are for the National Syndicate and how to run his operation, and Jack Dragna chafed under that.
Here they have this very sophisticated, mob-wise, sophisticated, handsome guy in Siegel who's moving into areas they never contemplated. He's moving into Hollywood, and they've been here all this time, and they can't get in the front door of a theater without paying for it.
Siegel's flamboyance and ambition only intensified Dragna's distrust of non-Italians.
Right away, Dragna would treat contemptuously Siegel as a Jew. And so there would be, well, you know, what's the Jew doing today? You know, where's the money? They take the money from us.
Since Bugsy had the backing of East Coast mob heavyweights Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano, there was little Jack Dragna could do.
If Dragna had killed Siegel, New York's mob would have been out there the next day, and really there would have been no Dragna family.
Bugsy began enforcing discipline in the area's gambling rackets. Though Dragna was the top man in town, independent bookies with ties to the old L.A. syndicate still flourished. It was a situation Bugsy would not tolerate. He called a meeting of game room operators and demanded that they cut Dragna in on their profits. When an old syndicate hand named Les Bruneman protested Siegel's strong-arm tactics, he became the mob's first target. On October 25, 1937, 11 shots ended Bruneman's one-man rebellion. But Bugsy's violence quickly backfired.
By coming out and demanding that everything get organized under the Italians and under the National Syndicate, Bugsy Siegel so destabilized the crime situation in L.A. that the whole thing came down.
The Bruneman murder outraged a public unaccustomed to such gangland brutality. Corrupt Los Angeles Mayor Frank Shaw came under fire for his links to organized crime. In September 1938, Los Angeles voters made Shaw the first big city mayor in American history to be recalled. The demise of the Shaw regime marked the beginning of the end of law enforcement's accommodation of organized crime in L.A. The new era was signaled by an all-out assault on a source of illicit revenue that had been around since the 1920s, gambling ships. There were 4 in operation as of 1939, anchored just beyond California's jurisdictional boundaries. The most spectacular of the floating casinos was the Rex, owned by a former bootlegging partner of Jack Dragna's named Tony the Hat Cornero.
Tony ran gambling ships, but he didn't run gambling dives, and this is the big difference. In the old days, such ships as there were really for low-level mobsters and high-level Hollywood stars slumming. Tony ran ships for the great American middle class. In a way, he really was the guy who thought up the idea of Las Vegas.
Water taxis maintained a constant traffic between ship and shore, ferrying gamblers to the casinos moored 3 miles off the coast of Santa Monica. At peak times, the Rex could entertain up to 3,000 people and was said to pull in a profit of $10,000 a day. Crusading California Attorney General Earl Warren saw shutting down the ships as the opening wedge in a broader law enforcement war on vice. On July 28, 1939, he ordered the ships to cease operations. When the casinos defied his orders, Warren dispatched Fish and Game Department ships to seize the gambling boats and shut them down.
3 of them were quickly captured, but Tony Cornero had been tipped that something was coming up. The gates of the Rex were slammed shut, and he pulled out a fire hose and started soaking the cops to keep them away. Well, what happened was that the cops couldn't get aboard the wrecks. The wrecks couldn't go anyplace. So there was a standoff, which was called the Battle of Santa Monica Bay.
The stalemate dragged on, with Cornaro perched on the deck of the wrecks, mocking the lawman and tossing bottles of brandy to the press boats surrounding the scene. Finally, after 8 days, Tony Cornaro voluntarily surrendered. It wasn't that he was out of provisions, Cornaro said. He just needed a haircut.